Hello, everyone, and welcome to another exciting episode of Lorehammer tonight. I will be filling in for Mark, so I am Fuzz the Fuzz Haunter tonight. And with me, we've got Ursats, Christian, and Logan.
What's up?
Hello.
Thanks for having us on your lovely podcast.
Yeah, we're so great that it's your podcast now.
I appreciate that, y'all. I'm going to do my best to bring some honor finally to the podcast.
Do it justice. Do it right this time.
But on the reverse side of honor, we have the Night Lords tonight.
Perfect.
But first, we'll start off with some housekeeping. Ursats, if you want to take it away.
Okay, Discord. So we've got a Discord. Things are going down. There's, I don't know how many channels now, like 15, 20 channels of everything, pets, even muscle boys, cooking. Things are going down. So yeah, feel free to join the Discord where things go down.
Oh, and if you want to support us more directly, join the Imperial Tithe on Patreon. You get the ad-free version of the show for $2.50, and for $5 a month, you get the video version, so you get to see our pretty faces. And Chris has more details about it.
Yeah. You also get access to the live chat room during the show if you join the Patreon, which is going off in the chat right now. And you can also call in at the end of the episode, so you too can be part of the legacy, the corrupt legacy of Warhammer.
You too can be immortalized on this podcast. Speaking of ways that you can be immortalized, we also have the Liber Malleus going on. There are ways you can buy into that by your chaos side or your loyalist side of Liber Malleus chapter. We just did a push-up contest. It was whoever can do the first video of showing 40 push-ups gets a free spot, and Vengeful Toasty won that on the Discord. There's going to be auctions. There's ways you can just straight buy in. There might be some more giveaways in the future. So definitely keep an eye out for that.
You can join the legion that is now divided, I guess.
Who here has a spot? I know I'm on the loyalist side.
Oh, I'm definitely leading the chaos.
You're leading the chaos.
Yeah.
I'm also on the loyalists as well.
I guess I have to join Chaos now just to balance it out.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Sorry.
It's Star Wars, so we don't need balance, but I appreciate the support. Yeah. Well, let's get into this episode. We are doing the Night Lords in the 40k Warband era. So just a quick overview of this episode. We're going to talk a little recap about their history, the Long War, Black Crusades, Great Rift, Era Indomitus. We're going to talk a little bit about their organization, their homeworld and recruitment, Gene Seed, their combat doctrines, beliefs, appearances, and war gear.
There we go. Yeah, so we'll go ahead and get started diving into the 40k Warband era. So the Night Lords were once the 8th Legion, sculpted in blood and fire at the height of the Emperor's ambition, loosed upon the stars during the Great Crusade. But in the yawning abyss of the Horus Heresy, they turned inward, lashing out at the Imperium they once bled for. Thus, they were counted amongst the 9 damned legions, forever condemned in the cataclysm of the 31st millennia. They kneel not to the... What is that? How do I say that? Capricious? Capricious, thank you. They kneel not to the capricious entities of the warp, but serve chaos undivided in grim defiance, hollow and unsanctified. Their faith is not reverence, but the art of pain, the cold theology of fear wrought upon the living. Across the void, they move like phantoms, leaving silence and ruin in their wake. Terror is their doctrine, suffering their devotion. The Night Lords strike from the shadows, wordless and merciless, their cruelty methodical. Pity is a dead thing to them. They carve horror into the flesh of worlds, not for worship, but because they know nothing else. And yet, long ago, their rage bore meaning. 10 millennia passed, their Primarch, Conrad Kurz, envisioned salvation through horror, justice imposed by fear. born from the corpse-strewn alleys of his youth. But the Imperium he warned refused to listen. Shattered by prophecy, devoured by despair, Kurz descended into the very madness he hoped to forestall. In the end, only his nightmares remained, and his sons inherited every one. Since those black days, Imperial scribes have searched for reasons in the ruin, how such brutal loyalty could curdle into betrayal, sacred purpose into desecration. But perhaps there was no fall, only revelation. Perhaps the Night Lords were never meant to be anything but executioners. Even in their brief years of loyalty, unease clung to them. Many whispered they were monsters needed for darker work. Others murmured fearfully of a flaw in the Emperor's creation, an error made flesh, too useful to discard. Some say they were cursed from birth, marked to haunt the empire they helped build. In the end, the galaxy offers no answers, only silence, only dread. The Night Lords remain, and always have been, heralds of anguish. That is kind of true, because you think about a bunch of the other legions that we've talked about that fell to chaos and how there's some tragic story or some kind of sadness around them. It really feels like the Night Lords just liked what they were doing, and it just worked out for them to keep doing it. You know what I mean?
Right. Dress for the job you want, right?
Yeah.
They were also the first to say like death to the false emperor, I think, as well.
Oh, were they?
Yeah.
Sevatar. Yeah, Sevatar was the first one to utter that remark, that phrase. I do agree that yes, they kind of just not a lot changes between their 40K and 30K era, at least aesthetically. But I do think there's a twisting of their morality for where they were brutal to impose like a sick version of justice, but now they're just brutal for the sake of brutality, which I think is a subtle change. But yeah, to the outside observer, not a lot has changed. They're still wearing the flayed flesh of their enemies. So
right. There was
as one does.
Yeah, there was a part in the first Kurz episode. I'm almost finished with that, but where you guys talk about so it's basically like that their souls become scarred with each like horror they impose upon the people. And I'm wondering if that like, and I don't know if that's talked about in the later episodes either, but like if that is a literal thing that like psychically scars their soul and just pushes them, like you were saying, Christian, from imposing this brutal form of justice to their souls just becoming brutal.
I did see a YouTube short. I don't know if it's about I think it was about a Night Lord who went outside of a ship that was in the warp outside the Geller field because he wanted to die, but none of the demons wanted him because of all the things he had done. He had no soul left. So that you might be on the right track.
Yeah, certainly it's like that idea, like if you do something bad enough and you keep doing it, like eventually it just becomes easier to you, right? Like if you are a killer, you know, the first kill maybe it scared you a little bit, or you're a little jittery. The next kill and the next kill after that, then it just becomes like habit. It's not even something you think about.
Yeah.
Certainly there might be something to that for sure. It'd be interesting to know if there were Night Lords that were recruited early on who weren't inherently as brutal as the rest of the Legion, and like you're saying, like they just kind of adopted the culture, and how much worse it would be for that guy, right? Like everyone else is like flaying somebody, like that's kind of gross. I don't really want to do that, but you have to do it to fit in with the boys.
Yeah.
And then next thing you know,
fit in with the boys. That's
I mean, yeah, like, a little bit, yeah. It's like you were talking about with kind of it becomes easier and easier with serial killers. A lot of times they talk about how when they first start killing, they give themselves these little like allowances and justifications for why it's okay, and then eventually they just throw off all pretext and are killing people
just for the fun of it.
Yeah, and then but yeah, like with the second part, yeah, sometimes you just have to go along to get along, and then it just is going to become what you're doing.
Yeah.
If you don't flay this person, they're going to flay you.
Yeah. or yeah, you just drink the Kool-Aid and you're like, no, what I'm doing, you convince yourself like this is justice, even though you don't totally believe it, at least not the first time you do it. But after 10 people, suddenly you start to believe your own lies. But the Night Lords, I think there's a lot more to their psychology than the surface level, for sure.
I guess as well, they probably had guidelines before when they were loyalist, and now those guidelines just don't exist, so they can just go a step further.
Certainly, yeah. Again, like it would be a twisted form of justice that we might not understand, but to them, at least, it was some kind of guardrail. But now it's a free for all. And with that, let's get into a recap of their history. The Great Crusade. During the Great Crusade, the Night Lords were brought into the Imperium under their Primarch, Conrad Kurz, a tortured seer king who ruled over the night-shrouded world of Nostromo. Though they fought alongside the Emperor's forces to reunite the galaxy, their methods were steeped in cruelty and terror. Entire systems were pacified, not through diplomacy or honorable warfare, but through the calculated use of fear, mutilation, and mass executions. Their victories were soaked in blood, and though effective, their brutality drew suspicion and scorn from other legions, even as the Emperor turned a blind eye to their excesses. During the Horus Heresy, the Night Lords fully embraced their own madness, disillusioned by the hypocrisy of the Imperium and tormented by prophetic visions. Kurz cast aside any remaining loyalty to the Emperor. They waged a campaign of wanton murder across the stars, not out of faith in Horus, but from a shared hatred of the Imperial lies and laws. At Sagolsa, Kurz met his prophesied death at the hands of the Calidus assassin Emshen, but not before recording a litany of crimes meant to justify his actions. In the Great Scouring that followed, the shattered remnants of the Night Lords fled into the Eye of Terror and the long night beyond. Hunted, scattered, and fatherless, they fractured into cruel warbands doomed to wander the stars as remnants of a broken legion. Still killing, still tormenting, because it was all they had left. Yeah, they're just absent of purpose, especially after the loss of their leader.
I guess as well with Conrad probably keeping them in check. And then when he's gone, they're like, oh yeah, well, we'll just do whatever we want now. We're superhuman. We'll just run over there, kill that person, run over there, kill that person.
That's a crazy thing to think he was keeping them in check.
Yeah, like he was the last little bit of shred of direction that they had.
Yeah, and he himself was a loose cannon, so imagine what happens after that.
He was the calm one of the Legion.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
All right, moving on to the Long War. Across the eons, Night Lords have done more to traumatize the psyche of the Imperium than any other traitor legion. As the conflicts of the Era Indomitus intensify, the terror raids and cruel hunts of the Night Lords increase in frequency. Long scattered, they are uniting. Warband by warband, in the name of some dire cause. It can only spell doom for the worlds of mankind. The Black Crusades. During the 12th and 13th Black Crusades, the Night Lords emerged from the shadows, but not as allies of Abaddon, but as harbingers of destruction and dread. They struck where their presence sowed the most terror, isolated outposts, rear guards, and vulnerable supply lines. Though they cared little for the despoilers' grand designs, their attacks bled the Imperium all the same. Communications collapsed under their assault. Reinforcement routes were bathed in blood, and defenders left screaming in the dark. Their campaigns were not coordinated, but complementary, spreading confusion like a virus behind Imperial lines. Some Imperial commanders whispered that the Night Lords were the true architects of fear in those crusades, for their cruelty left deeper scars than mere strategy ever could. And as Abaddon's legions surged forward, the sons of Kurz watched from the dark, never pledging loyalty, but ever sharpening the blade. Then in the aftermath of the Great Rift's creation, the Night Lords warbands were in their element as they began to launch more raids than ever before against an Imperium struck with fear and madness. They reaped a gory harvest from the Imperium's worlds and soon established a small empire amongst those systems that had been cut out from the Emperor's light. They struck an even more devastating blow against the Imperium when the warbands used demonic pacts to establish a safe passage through the Great Rift near the Corthine system. The passage was soon discovered by the Navigator Guilds, and several Imperial fleets were sent through it in a desperate attempt to reach the world of the Imperial Nihilus. However, when the fleets entered the tunnel through the Great Rift, the Night Lords attacked and captured dozens of Imperial vessels. This is kind of interesting because I know a lot of people joke about Raven Guard and the Night Lords, how they're both the emoest of emo boys, and they both like jump packs. But what the Night Lords are doing without a commander is exactly what the Raven Guard was doing during the Horus Heresy. They were just picking at the back line and taking out supply lines every chance they could. So it's another twisted parallel to a Loyal's counterpart.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, especially after the Raven Guard lost Korax temporarily, but still, yeah.
Yeah.
It also aligns with their combat doctrines for both of them. They both kind of use stealth tactics. Obviously, the Night Lords use stealth up to a degree, and then it becomes fear tactics, but you still got to get close enough to scare people, so.
And I like the implication that they actually do have some sort of like larger plot that's their own. Like it said, they don't give two shits about what Abaddon's doing, but that they're starting to come together in like more numbers and more frequency with their own, like almost like they have their own grand design, and they also with them establishing like that small empire I talked about in the Imperium Nihilus, like that they somehow actually do have like a cohesive direction. I use cohesive loosely because as much as the Night Lords can have it, but there is a plan.
Yeah, more cohesive than they had been for a long time.
Exactly.
Yeah, it is a really cool element, and the fact that they are kind of these rogues amongst rogues. I mentioned in a previous episode how they're like almost a truer element of chaos in the sense that they're more chaotic, like ungovernable, leaderless. But they are seeming to collect together, whether that is by some grander design or by maybe a specific leader, or maybe it's just happenstance that they all kind of share a similar set of objectives that draws them naturally together.
Yeah, like it would not have surprised me at all to read that they attacked like the forces of chaos with the same frequency they attacked the Imperium. Very much like like they were following Malal or closer aligned with that.
Yeah, certainly. The other interesting thing that I don't like, only because it seems out of character for them, but can make sense if you take it from the perspective of allies of convenience, is making pacts with the demons. Again, they don't serve chaos, but I could see them definitely striking a deal that will advantage them. So yeah, typically Night Lords aren't in the business of cavorting with demons, but
I guess there could be some of that foresight as well from Conrad. Like someone, I know because the Night Hunter has it as well, where he has Conrad's foresight. So they could be in this kind of play where they've decided to take over a whole, or not a whole system, but a small amount of system. That's also weird, I thought, making like a base almost, a group of systems.
Yeah, like maybe when like Kurz died, kind of like how like when sometimes when the Primarch dies, it sends like a psychic thing of some sort out to the rest of their people. Maybe like when Kurz died, it sent out like one very specific glimpse of a vision to every Night Lord, and so that's what's kind of holding them all together.
Yeah, definitely interesting. I mean, I've never heard anything go through it, but there's in the Night Lord's little book series, there's a bit where they do meet with Abaddon, so there could be some like, oh, if you help us do this thing, then yeah, go do whatever you want over there kind of deal.
Okay. Don't fuck with me and I'll leave you alone to just go be weird over there.
It's
I
like
guess they need it.
making friends with the quiet kid in class.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
just want to be on his side when things go down.
Here's a group of skin. They need the skins to continue on, so you can take over this system. There's enough skin there. There's your payment. We'll sort out the main battle over here. Well, I guess we'll get into the era Dominus. The coming of the Great Rift was a dirge the Night Lords had long awaited. As the Imperium shuddered, and tore itself as under, a night fell, one so deep it smothered half the galaxy. The Imperium Nihilus drowned in void black silence. Severed from the Emperor's light, the other half, the Imperium Sanctus, flailed blindly in panic and fire. Into this bleeding wound crawled the tattered remnants of the 8th Legion to feast. No longer mere ravengers, scrapping by on scavenged arms, the Night Lords thrived amidst the corp light of a dying empire. Planets bled dry beneath their claws. Minotaurian worlds were raised, the screams of the dying echoing through discreet cathedrals. I guess like a cathedral. Fortress monasteries fell to midnight slaughter, their gene seed torn from broken brothers, their relics defiled, their dead hung as warnings. Worse still, the sorcerers of the 8th delved deeper into the nightmare. They found a new sympathy in suffering. Thousands of astropaths mutilated in unholy ritual, their agony forged into siren calls. With these, the Night Lords lured Imperial ships to their doom. Entire planets became altars of fear. Where once hope flickered, only the memory of terror remained. The sons of Kurz had found their paradise, built on ruin, shaped in pain. I was going to comment as well that it did talk about in the last section about the system turning black. I thought maybe it was just like a loss of communication, but it looks like it was full-on darkness, which is interesting.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
really interesting.
Yeah, it's almost like a supernatural element as well.
Yeah, like maybe with some of the demon forged power, with those demon packs that talked about. I like the part where it also talks about how they use the astropaths as like a lure to lure in other ships. In one of the Hammer and Bolter episodes, you see the Death Guard do something sort of similar with an astropathic choir on a planet that they send a message back in time to cause the events to happen that they're doing now. So just like the idea of using of using the astropaths and the choir as some sort of tactical thing in general, I have been finding really interesting to see that more and more.
Yeah. It's almost like the lure of an anglerfish. Like a little light that baits
Yes.
you in. Yeah.
I was thinking more kind of like a siren, where instead of it's a pretty lady, it's a
Bunch of
astropath.
screaming psychers.
Yeah. I don't know. Maybe that's hot to them. I don't know. I'm not an astropath.
I mean, maybe we're overthinking this, and it was like a siren, like an SOS distress siren, calling the ships in. And
That's siren. Yeah, maybe. Just
screaming.
Help!
Just so this skinless form in the warp that's the astropath after the Night Lords got him, just like screaming literally into the void.
That's funny.
What a terrible time to have an imagination. Mentally pick.
Right to bed after this episode for everyone.
I still got half the day left, so that's fine for me.
Yeah, right. Yeah, you're the lucky one. All right, so their organization, or possibly lack thereof, where other traitor legions cling to fragments of brotherhood, the Night Lords have lost even that. They are alone and proud in it, their bonds dissolved by bloodshed and time. Cruelty is the only kinship they know. Within each one festers a solitary hunger to outdo his brethren in pain dealt terror sown and trophies claimed. They do not fight for chaos or for one another. They fight for fear. They fight for the echo of a scream that never ends. The Night Lords seldom consort with demons, for theirs is a legion hollow of faith. They do not trust the promises of the warp, nor kneel before its shifting gods. Only the Furies walk beside them, beasts of chaos undivided, drawn by the same joyless hunger for blood and fear that drives the sons of Curse ever onward through the dark. Okay, so they do, just legitimately, like, they don't trust anyone with power, and I wonder if this stems from Curse sort of like seeing the Emperor, like, in that beginning as less than a divine being, and so they just don't. They're basically, I guess, like agnostic, for lack of a better word, or
The edgy atheists.
Well, I wouldn't say atheists, because they know that these literal gods exist.
Sure, but do they consider them gods or just warp entities? Are
Also,
they just other creatures that you shouldn't trust? And they are right for not trusting demons. I mean,
oh, sure, that is
have to be an idiot to do that. So,
yeah,
I guess they probably do see them for what they are, like you said.
Yeah,
like they know true horror, so they know
they're powerful but not divine.
Right, exactly. Like they are just another entity that lives in this weird, wide galaxy. In their eyes.
What if their problem with authority is also that Curse, almost called him Cruz, didn't Curse held them back before and didn't let them do whatever they wanted, and they didn't like that. So this is just another escalation of Curse didn't like the Emperor, they didn't really like Curse, and now anytime somebody could be an authority figure, they're not into it.
I think it's weird. Like it's not like they didn't like Curse. They wanted to like Curse, and they wanted him to like them, like the other Primarchs did, but he just didn't want to.
Yeah, I was gonna say I don't know that they didn't like Curse, but
I guess not like him directly. They didn't like he was in charge. Was kind of what I was looking for.
Yeah.
There's certainly a tension. There was a tension there, especially with someone like Sevatar and Conrad. Yeah.
And nowadays they might not like him. Like,
I mean,
because they're trying to outdo each other. They're trying to one up each other. They just see each other as rivals. So I could see them seeing Kurz, if he was still alive, or if he ever like came back as a demon or something, as like the ultimate rival, not necessarily to be liked, but to be a like a goal or a target.
Yeah, that makes
like
sense.
An aspirational target, you mean?
Yes, honestly, yeah. Like he is what they aspire to be, but they aspire to be him by like dethroning him. So
Right.
He is this like motivating, uplifting factor for the Night Lords in his own dark, weird, special way, but not in a healthy way.
Yeah, it's almost like a complex where they have to like overthrow their father. Kind of, it's not quite an Oedipus complex, but something to that effect.
It reminds me of like in the Riddick series with was the necromongers, you keep what you kill.
Yeah,
it's my legion now. I killed him.
Yeah, like
there's probably a whole lot of psycho conditioning as well, like more so than other legions. I think
heavy emphasis on the psycho part of that conditioning.
Yeah,
true.
Yeah, I do wonder when they recruit, though. Again, like we're looking at a very broken legion, and do they still practice a lot of the things that typical indoctrination would happen through? So yeah, like the original legions would have been psycho-indoctrinated like anyone else. But at this point, like, do they even care to like indoctrinate someone, or do they just like learn through just existing, what the legion's beliefs and is about? Like, do you need to psycho ingrain that into someone, or you just kind of like let them loose and see what happens?
I could see that being the way for all of the traitor legions to a certain degree. Like they're not gonna raise their aspirants the same way that the loyalist legions and the chapters do. They're gonna put their own weird, demonic, brutal spin on it. Like I'm sure the World Eaters are going to have their own form of psycho indoctrination, and I mean they use like the butcher's nails and stuff. So, whereas the Night Lords, maybe their form of psycho indoctrination is kind of like what I was saying earlier. You inflict this horror on somebody, or we're going to inflict it on you, and then they do it so many times that it just becomes normal. They become numb to it, and that's just the way of life for them.
Yeah. Yeah, and it could even be like in a pre-Night Lord state, like to even become an aspirant, you have to butcher people and like just engage in slaughter and just psychotic behavior.
Who knows how their recruiting process goes?
Yeah, it is very vague for all the Chaos Legions, so you can only just speculate for each one, and there's subtle variations, like you were saying. But on that note, let's carry on with their pseudo-organization. First up, we have the Chaos Lords. Chaos Lords of the Night Lords Legion are the undying nightmares that lead their warbands through shadow and slaughter, each one a tyrant forged in the crucible of fear and blood. These warlords rise not through honor or loyalty, but through treachery, brutality, and the sheer depth of their cruelty. Many are former captains of the 8th Legion, survivors of the Long War, who have spent millennia perfecting the arts of psychological warfare and terror. They are clad in ancient Baroque power armor, draped in the bones of the slain and cloaked in darkness. Some whisper that the void itself recoils from their presence. Unlike Chaos Lords of other traitor legions, they seldom worship a particular chaos god, instead walking the bitter path of damnation alone, driven by rage, sorrow, and the haunting legacy of their dead Primarch. Each commands with absolute authority, ruling over raptors, warp talons, and murder cults with an iron grip. Their every act a grim echo of Conrad Kurz's vision, that order could only be maintained through fear, and that death was the only promise unbroken.
Super edgy. All right. Let's talk about their warbands. So, since the death of their Primarch, Conrad Kurz, the Night Lords have been shattered as an organized legion. Most have fled to the Eye of Terror and now operate as despot warbands. These warbands are fractious and mercenary to the extreme, most contending themselves with raiding, butchery, and plundering. Many have found their way into the service of other Chaos Lords, Demon Princes, and even Xenos Warlords. Peak heresy. For so long as there is a chance to inflict fear and ambush on others, the Night Lords will naturally be drawn to a cause. Some special ranks in their warband. The Atramentar, that's what we're going with. The Atramentar were the elite terminators of the 8th Legion's formidable first company, led by the infamous first captain, Iago Sevtarion. Yep, cool. Yep,
Sevtarion.
During the Great Crusade and the Horus Heresy, this elite cadre's members were chosen from amongst the standard ranks of the Night Lord legions, from Astartes who had been singled out and personally selected by their Primarch for their ferocity and cruelty. Each member was known by name and reputation within and without the Night Lord's legion. Following the death of a Night Haunter at the hands of the Imperial assassin Mshen on Sagulasa after the heresy,
I think it is.
I'm doing my best.
I'm trying.
There's letters that don't belong in these words. Atramentar, scattered with the rest of the Legion, and by the time of the 41st millennia, often served as bodyguards to powerful Chaos Lords who commanded the various Night Lords warbands. While originally outfitted in Tartarus Terminator pattern armor, over the centuries, many of the surviving Chaos Terminators adapted other patterns of Terminator armor captured from loyalist Astartes, as their own ancient armor was damaged or wore out with little chance for securing replacement parts. The Raptors, which are the coolest unit of Chaos Space Marines. Changed my mind. Amongst the ranks of the Night Lords are the dreaded Chaos Space Marine assault troops known as Raptors. This elite group of egotistical and arrogant warriors believe themselves to be better amongst their allies and fellow renegades. Many other Chaos Space Marines consider them to be preening, self-indulgent egotists. The origins of this particular specialty group can be traced to the bygone days of the Horus Heresy, when they served in the important shock attack role of jump troops. At that time, jump packs were a comparatively rare new technology amongst the Space Marine legions, but such was the effectiveness of these assault troops that their commitment to battle often proved to be the turning point. Oftentimes, they were kept in reserves and sent into action against the weakest points of the enemy line. This concept of preying on the vulnerable has led the Raptors to become vicious hunters who could strike anywhere at any time. The Raptors have a tendency to modify their armor to give themselves a more terrifying appearance, mimicking the appearance of various birds of prey or a swooping demon. They often fit amplifiers and voxcasters that emit piercing wails and screams in their helms, falling upon the enemy like a shrieking, furious gale, tearing their foes apart with bolt pistol and vicious chainswords. In combat, the Night Lords always tend to deploy a large number of Raptors. I love them. And this description makes me so angry that the Emperor's children didn't get them in the Codex. Like, they're literally described as egotistical troops, and Emperor's children didn't get any. Okay, whatever, GW.
Like, my almost my entire Night Lord's army is just Raptors.
And that's so
so
peak.
cool.
That's so peak.
I've got the 3rd edition as well, like the cool ones with the robot legs and stuff.
Yeah.
In the box. Because, yeah, they adjust even their feet, so they're like robotic feet, so they have full-on talons and stuff, which is cool as heck.
That's very cool. Now, there's a Loyalist Raptors chapter as well, isn't there?
That's different.
Well, yeah, I know it's not like a Loyalist version of the same thing, but there is also a Loyalist chapter.
Yes.
It's literally called the Raptors.
Yeah, the Raptors are a chapter. They're Raven Guard subchapter, if I remember right.
I think you're right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes, they are. Yeah, because the Raptors were actually the first. Spoiler for future episodes: they were the first sub chapter because the Raven Guard needed reinforcements, so Korax made the Raptors, and they were deformed monsters most of the time.
Okay, yeah, I was looking into that like a while back because my buddy, like a friend of mine, who I got him into buying miniatures at all, got me into finally buying 40K figures, and that's his main Loyalist chapter is Raptors. And I was looking at them to make one for him, and I was like, but I keep finding chaos stuff. What the fuck's going on?
Yeah, it's a chaos unit and a Loyalist chapter.
Yeah,
but they do sound very cool. Like I like their commitment to the bit. I really appreciate that.
They're so cool.
Yeah, I did fully expect them to drop a whole unit of Raptors when they dropped Emperor's Children. Also, the speed being like just tactically kind of how Emperor's Children tend to fight as well. Would have fit very thematically.
Oh, 100%. But like, yeah, just having, I'm so jealous you have a whole Night Lords army of Raptors. That's so cool.
Because my brother plays good old what are they called? How have I forgotten them? The other emo boys.
Raven Guard?
Yeah.
How dare you? I feel so disrespected right now. How dare you, sir?
Two sides of the same coin.
Yeah, I mean they both have Raptors.
Yeah.
True.
All right. So the home world for them is Nostromo. Nostromo is a world steeped in perpetual night. Its surface choked by smog and its cities ruled by crime and despair long before the coming of the Imperium. The planet birthed Conrad Kurz, the Night Haunter, who sought to purge its corruption through terror and murder. Though initially hailed as a savior, Kurz's justice became indistinguishable from cruelty. After being claimed by the Emperor and raised to lead the Night Lords, he returned only once, his mind fractured beyond repair. Seeing that his homeworld remained steeped in rot despite his efforts, Kurz condemned Nostromo to annihilation. With cold resolve, he ordered his flagship to fire upon the planet, shattering its crust and rendering it lifeless in a single act of planetary execution. The moon that once orbited Nostromo survived the cataclysm and, for a time, served as a base of operations for the scattered remnants of the Night Lords. But even that cold rock could not escape the shadow of Nostromo's doom, its surface haunted by memory, blood, and the echo of a world murdered by its own sun. Yeah, like,
you have another homeworld of Chaos Primarch that they've annihilated. Seems to be a theme.
yeah.
Well, when you misbehave and send him to the room doesn't work, you take away the room.
Remove the whole room.
Yes. I punish my children by knocking down my house. It's perfect.
Yeah, I'm imagining Kurz up on the spaceship getting ready to exterminate his planet, just being like, this is why we can't have nice things.
This is your fault. You're making me do this.
Right.
I can't believe you make me do this.
He is absolutely that abusive father. Why are you making me cut your skin off?
Why are you making me?
He's just peeling somebody. Like, this is all on you. You did this.
Yeah.
This hurts me more than it hurts you.
Yeah, he's playing you alive. All right, let's get into Sagulsa. Sagulsa, known in hushed tones as the Carrion World, lies in the eastern fringe, its soil soaked in the sorrow, its skies forever stained. When Nostromo was reduced to ash beneath the Imperial fire, Conrad Kurz drifted like a broken specter until he found Sagulsa, a world barren enough to match his desolation in his soul. There he wove a new layer of grief and vengeance. From this desolate throne, the Night Lords unleashed a genocide so vast it rendered their former atrocities whispers by comparison. Once a quarry world clinging to the edge of the Imperium, Sagulsa was bleak even before the heresy. A realm of stone, silence, and dust, the Night Lords brought it into compliance, not through diplomacy, but devastation. They shattered its cities, enslaved its people, and flayed obedience into the bones of the survivors. Along the tithe road of the Thrama sector, it served as both tributary and sacrificial altar, offering flesh to the son of Nostromo in exchange for protection that was indistinguishable from torment. During the fires of the Horus Heresy, Sagulsa became a graveyard for Brotherhood. There, two Primarchs met beneath a failing sun, Lionel Johnson and Conrad Kurz. Each came with a chosen champion, Corswain and Alejos of the Dark Angels, Sevatar and Shang of the Night Lords. What began in brittle civility unraveled into fury when Kurz mocked the lion. Words gave way to ruin. L. Johnson struck first, an act called dishonorable by some, necessary by others. Kurz responded in kind, nearly throttling the life from his brother. Only the blade of Corswain saved the lion, severing Kurz's spine in a desperate act. Alajos fell soon after, his head claimed by Sevatar. Reinforcements poured in as the earth split with war cries. Bloodied and spent, the Primarchs were torn apart by their own sons. Thunderhawks lifted the survivors away into the burning skies, but Sagulsa remembered. Years later, drifting through the void in a coffin of silence, Kurz was recovered by the ill-fated freighter Shelderon. Its crew knew not what they carried. Only one would live to witness the Night Haunter rise again. The ship was redirected towards Sagulsa upon its grim soil. Kurz waited in the dark. In time, Talos Valkyrin, the First Claw, arrived, summoned by whispers and the scent of doom. At their master's command, Sagulsa became the heart of the Night Lord's bitter empire. What rose upon the surface was not a fortress, but a wound, a palace built of the living, its walls shrieking with endless agony. The screaming gallery led to a throne wrought from bleached bone, where the Night Haunter brooded among his captains. Their dreams were nightmares given form. Here, Kurz met his end. The Calidus assassin Emshen found him in the gloom. Whether he allowed her blade or failed to resist, none can say. His corpse fell in silence, but the echoes of his death still howl through the void. The Imperium could no longer abide the horrors birthed from the Carrion World. A crusade was summoned, not of one chapter, but many. Fragments of the second founding, the Scions of Gulliman answered. Ultramarines Genesis chapter, Aurora chapter, Silver Eagles, Nova Marines, Praetors of Orpheus, and Black Consuls descended upon Sagulsa in righteous fury. Even a vessel bearing the mark of doom eagles was seen among them. Outnumbered and cornered, the Night Lords fled into the stars. They survived, but never again as one. Sagulsa became a tomb, its shrine abandoned, its horrors buried beneath silence. The Legion was broken, their unity, like their father's sanity, was lost to time. The Night Lord's fortress palace of Sagulsa was not built, but bled into existence. A place of unending torment, its architecture whispered pain with every stone. The screaming gallery, a corridor of faces, mouths forever open in voiceless agony, led to the inner sanctum. There, beneath the sky that never cleared, sat Kurz upon his throne of human bones, cloaked in shadow, his eyes blind to hope. Around him gathered his captains, each a herald of madness, each one worse than the last. Sagulsa was their haven, their crypt, and their curse, a carry-on world named for what it birthed, and for what it would never forget. Yeah, so after Nostromo, Sagulsa becomes kind of their second home. And there's a lot of history that I just went over, even since from the days of the heresy all up until the very death of Conrad.
Yeah, it sounds like a fun place. Like, yeah, just a corridor of faces. I wonder if that was their kind of like their trophy room. Like the Screaming Gallery was where they would put faces of their, I don't know, maybe the most difficult kills or something.
Maybe the ones they got the most pleasure out of.
But yeah, maybe something like that. Reminds me a little bit of from Game of Thrones. It was like the House of Black and White, where Arya was training to become a faceless man. Just had the columns and shelves of people's faces.
Yeah, that's a very strong Night Lords aesthetic for sure.
Yeah,
it's a whole mood.
It's an aesthetic. It's an architectural style, actually.
It's very Night Lord core. It's very chic.
Right. Postmodern Night Lord.
Postmodern Night Lord. I'm more of a modernist Night Lord guy myself.
I prefer the flayed flesh just draped over all the furniture.
Dude, that's all their couches. Pure human leather.
You just see them rubbing it, breathing it in, fresh.
Now the trick is getting people with similar skin tones so you get one unified looking couch instead of the patchwork.
Yeah.
You pay more for that.
You pay more for that.
Now I'm just imagining Sagulsa having its own industry of human tanneries. Yeah.
I know he's human tanneries. Flesh. Just that too.
The new flesh handbag.
The new flesh handbag.
In a horrific visit to the real world for a second here, there are books that have been used human flesh to make their leather bindings and everything. So pretty
graphic. Confirmed.
I think I mentioned on another episode, there was a museum near where I went to college, and they had some World War II artifacts from the Nazis. That was a lamp that had a human skin lampshade, and I think there was a wallet as well.
Yeah, so horrific.
It
is
creepy
with a nickel piercing, so you can hang your keys to it.
That's what you use to turn it on.
It never ceases to amaze me how much 40K and the real world overlap in ways you would not want them to.
What? You mean the thing with the parody of a fascist government has real world overlap?
It does.
What? Fascism's not real.
I can also imagine that fight with good old Lion. He just pushes Conrad. He's like, you need to stop, and pushes him, and his retaliation is just to choke him to death.
Yeah, that's the first strike is just a get away from me. He's like, oh, you've gone too far this time, Lion.
That's it.
I don't know why. I always pictured that it was pocket sand, not an actual push. Lion just throws pocket sand at him. pocket sand with a deep voice. And he's so offended by the pocket sand, he tries to choke him like Homer chokes Bart.
Yeah, same.
Oh my god, that'd be an amazing piece of fan art. Is Courage choking the lion and yeah, it's all of the Simpsons.
For all of
Just
our artists
really
listening, do that for us. Post it in Discord. But other than our jokes, let's talk about how people get recruited for this. You know, because if wallet lamps don't sell you, I don't know what will. So the Night Lords once recruited from the wretched and the desperate, those who had known nothing but suffering, cruelty, and fear. On Nostromo, their now dead homeworld, potential aspirants were taken from the darkest depths of the Hive cities, chosen for their ruthlessness, their cunning, or capacity for violence. Really quick, when it says ruthless, cunning, or capacity for violence, my brain is going, okay, so that you could pick a politician because you're ruthless and cunning. You don't have to be violent. They'll teach you the violence later.
Or they'll just use other people to commit violence.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, that's where all the Chaos Lords are. They're politicians.
Yeah, the funny thing is they all are. They're like all nobles and politicians and stuff, all the captains.
True. Yeah, so maybe I'm not
Yeah.
far off. We love that. Most were orphans, murderers, or enforcers, children who would kill to survive. The process was brutal and unrelenting, for only those already twisted by their world could survive what followed. These recruits were shaped into the image of their Primarch, Conrad Kurz, who believed that justice could only be enforced through terror. Their transformation into Astartes did not redeem them. It merely gave them structure and purpose to their inner monstrosities. After the heresy and the destruction of Nostromo, the Night Lords' recruitment became sporadic, desperate, and vile. With no stable homeworld, they began stealing potential candidates from conquered worlds, forcibly converting captives or training children raised in the wake of their atrocities. These new aspirants are often raised aboard their warships amidst death and cruelty, growing up steeped in horror until they become numb to mercy. The gene seed implementation process continues, but without the oversight of the Imperium, it is erratic and often fatal. Still, those who survive emerge as true sons of the Night Haunter, dead-eyed, wrathful, and utterly shaped by the nightmare of their birth. Each new Night Lord is a child of terror, born not to serve any higher purpose, but to simply continue the cycle of suffering. I'd like the award of most abusive legion to go to.
Yeah. It is pretty much what we had talked about earlier that we kind of surmised is they take you and they just make you do these atrocities. They steep you in their terror and their horror and their violence and their fear.
Like, you already like killing. We'll just make it easier for you to kill people.
I don't even know if they liked the killing because they were just kidnapped and put on there.
Honestly, it seems like it's the legion of generational trauma. Like they take these, like you said, they take these kids that are in the wake of their conquered worlds and have seen what these guys are going to do to people and have done to people. And then like, okay, now you're going to come with us and we're going to teach you how to do that too. Like, that's just terrifying.
Yeah,
and
it's tragic.
Tragically, again, it's not so far removed from reality. I mentioned before the concept of Janissaries being kidnapped from enemy Southern European populations and then being turned into soldiers to fight against their own people. And also happens a lot in a lot of African civil wars, like in the modern era, like in the Congo and things, with child soldiers. The very people that like murdered and raped your village will recruit you as a soldier to fight for them. It's pretty horrific all around.
What's that called? Like when you get kidnapped and you eventually start liking the person that kidnapped you.
Stockholm syndrome.
Yeah, that I guess like it's rampant in this idea.
Yeah,
I wonder how long you're exposed to that trauma before you forget what a normal life is like.
Yeah.
I guess it's so dark as well that time just doesn't work the same, so it's probably a lot
True.
faster.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
you don't really have anything to mark the passage of time in theory. And I mean, with it being, Astartes and their level of technology and stuff, it could be a decade of dealing with this trauma before you finally become, like a full Night Lord.
Because it looks like it doesn't really matter if people die. Like as long as a small amount make it, that's fine, kind of thing. Well, we'll get into the gene seed. The gene seed of the Night Lords is disturbingly intact, an eerie remnant of what was once noble. Of all the traitor legions, there bears the fewest marks of physical corruption. Before their descent into darkness, the only outward sign of deviation were ashen skin and abysmal black eyes, traits that grew more common after the integration of the sorrowful genetics of Nostramo's broken people. It is a bitter irony that these sons of terror remain largely untainted by mutation. Some whisper that their gene stock was unusually stable, while others claim their refusal to blind themselves to a single chaos god has preserved them. Yet the truth lies deeper, buried not in flesh, but in the fractures of the soul. For the truest legacy of their damned father is not a physical one, but a psychological. Madness coils in their minds, paranoia festering, self-destruction festering deeper still. They are creatures of dread who revel in fear not for victory, but for its own twisted sake, finding cruel joy in the unraveling of minds. Among them, the Night Lord sorcerers suffer a tormenting affliction. Seizures rake with visions of futures grim and formless. Like their haunted Primarch, they see only ruin in the road ahead. The Night Haunter, it is said, perceived solely the bleakest of fates, a curse of foresight that proved as inevitable as it was horrifying. It is whispered that his sons suffer from the same doom. Although unconfirmed, the parallels are chilling, and if prophecy blinds them as it did their fathers, then tragedy is not chance, it is inheritance. Psychologically, they bear the mark of their bloodline. Physiologically, they bear the mark of their bloodline. Each Night Lord shares a cadaverous pallor of an abysmal gaze of the Night Haunter. They navigate perfect darkness with ease. Their eyes are tuned not only to shadow, but to the heart of terrified prey. I think that's called prey sight. In combat, they emit piercing wails, inhuman screams that fracture eardrums and break will. Their cries are not weapons of war, but echoes of legacy, drowned in horror, a final deafening lament from a legion who sees no dawn, only night.
Do you think their wails kind of sound like the Aztec death whistles?
What do they sound like? I need...
No, I'll send you one. They are horrifying.
Yeah, I don't know. I love that that they do have that, like the description of the like sort of like comical mockery that they have such an intact gene seed.
I guess they just don't recruit as much. I'm guessing, like, my feeling is they prefer to just die out as a legion rather than continue on.
I don't know. They do. I mean, why recruit at all if you just want your legion to die out? You wouldn't worry about recruiting anybody.
Recruitment's a strong word. They're picking new victims.
But again, like if the Legion and the warbands were sort of okay with just going extinct, they probably wouldn't even bother with that. They would just kill until they die, and they wouldn't even have apothecaries to save the gene seed. Like I do think that they want to survive, and that they want to
propagate,
continue this legacy of cruelty, and they want to propagate, because that is also something that a lot of like psychopaths, serial killers, torturers want to do is they want to make their victims in their own image in a certain way. And so I think this is kind of that psychology going into the Night Lords. That they
I'd
want
also... Sorry, finish your thought. Good.
Yeah, this is how they want to spread. It's another way for them to spread their terror, is to make more of them.
Yeah, I would be hesitant to apply a single psychology to all of one chapter. So certainly there might be a Night Lord or Night Lords who do just want off this never-ending cycle of abuse that is the galaxy. But yeah, like you were saying, I'm sure there are others who think very differently. They all have like and this goes for every legion. Like there are individuals within a legion that share general ideals, or even might go against those ideals, but they are still individuals. So I'd be hesitant to paint all of one group with a single brush. The other thing too, just on their gene seed, certainly I think their hesitancy to engage with the warp also probably protects their gene seed from corruption. A lot of the other legions who are obviously like completely, enthralled with the chaos god, start to suffer its degrading effects on their flesh as much as their souls. And I think the Night Lords, because they at least, maybe they hollowed their souls out, they're not cavorting with chaos to the degree that it's irradiating their flesh and their gene seed, which maybe helps to keep it more pure.
I guess they have those undivided demons walking around with them as well. There may be some form of protection on that side as well.
Maybe, I don't know, because I feel like it might forestall it a little bit, but they still are in the warp so much. I feel like that should do it, but
you know what it is? It's Night Lord's cooties. They've got cooties.
Yeah, honestly, that would, because was it you, Logan, who said earlier that there was the Night Lord that the demons didn't even want them? Like they're just so.
I think it was a raptor. I think it was a Night Lord raptor.
Okay, but yeah, just like that their soul is so corrupted that maybe like the warp's like, I can't do anything here.
Well, it's not even that it's corrupted, because we've talked before that the chaos gods want to eat the soul. He's done so much that the soul is gone. It's been eaten, which kind of actually matches with the dead eyes inside, because they literally are dead inside. There's nothing there.
I guess that's more of what I guess that's more of what I was getting to, is I guess not that it's corrupted, but there's no soul to corrupt, so it can't get to the gene seed.
See, they're all orange haired.
There's also a South Park episode about that.
Yeah, I'm sure, yes. That is quite the episode. But anyway, so with their combat doctrine, the Night Lords inherited the methods of their Primarch without hesitation, embracing his creed of fear as gospel. Terror is their art, confusion their calling card. When they descend upon a world, they first silence its voices, severing communications, replacing every signal with tortured screams and maddened whispers. Then the slaughter begins, slow and deliberate, a cruel performance in blood. They do not seek worthy foes. Instead, they hunt the weak, the desperate, and the frightened. Rarely will they stand against a force capable of resisting them. There is no mercy in their hearts. Surrender is no sanctuary, only a slower, more painful end. Mutilation is the answer to pleas, and death is always certain. The Night Lords march without cause. They do not kill in the name of gods, nor crusade for belief. Whatever notion of honor they once held was long since devoured by madness and time. Now they are nothing more than scattered beasts in the skin of men, warbands of butchers with no code but cruelty. Yet they remain masters of shadow. Stealth is second nature, a predatory instinct as old as their legion. They slip unseen through the dark, using silence as a weapon. And then the torment begins, the cruel hunt, the dread games, driving their victims mad with anticipation before the killing blow falls. When the moment comes, it is swift and devastating. Ambushes are sudden and merciless, designed not simply to destroy, but to fracture resolve. Chaos is their element, confusion is their blade, and in the midst of horror they thrive. Among their most sadistic weapons is the Vox Wail, a scream 15 seconds long, amplified and layered, that bursts eardrums and shatters minds. Victims fall to the ground deaf and writhing, and it is then that the Night Lords strike. The silence after is filled only by dying breath and weeping. Even before their damnation, they wore death like a second skin. Their armor bore skulls and flayed flesh, reminders that fear kills just as surely as a blade. They do not fight equals, they hunt prey. A Night Lord's champion, clad in relic warplate and armed with ruinous weapons, is a force of horror incarnate. Since the heresy, their warbands have drawn more raptors than any other legion. Echoing the tactics of their cursed Primarch, they fall from the sky like nightmares made flesh. Their shrieks rend the heavens, and even the bravest falter beneath their claws, just as the Night Haunter once foretold. Yeah, I like that they're hunters, but they're opportunistic, the most opportunistic hunters. Like I said, they don't go for the strong, they go for the weak, they go for the vulnerable, which is very effective. But I imagine like they're, I don't want to say easily scared, but like it talked about in the Sigolsa section, when there is a force that they know will be even remotely a match for them, they're going to run away.
I wouldn't say that they're scared. I think it's more a practical calculation. They don't believe in honor, so they have nothing. They're like, we're not going to die for what, right? It's better to retreat, survive, and strike later than, have some glorious last stand that no one will care about.
Yeah, and like a lot of predators in nature, if you do put up a fight, they're like, is this risk worth the reward? And I think that very much falls into that pragmatism of them.
Yeah, certainly.
It also kind of lends to their scariness. Like they're kind of a scary story legion if you think about it. And if you shine your light, the monster is going to come get you. Well, if you're alert and paying attention, they're not going to fight you because they don't want to fight you in a fair fight. They want to stab you in the back. So if you see them, they can't hurt you, kind of thing. I mean, clearly they can, but you know what I'm saying.
Yeah. No, I know what you're saying. Yeah, if they think you're going to put up too much of a fight, they might just go find a weaker target.
Yeah, exactly.
And keep in mind, they are still space marines. So, like, a single guardsman pointing his lasgun at you isn't going to be a deterrent. Like,
yeah,
you're looking at another space marine force.
Yeah, I was going to say a squad of Astartes staring right at them. They're like, I don't know if we want that smoke.
I guess they probably want that fear too. Like if they stand a chance, there's less fear. Whereas if they don't have a chance, then that fear is coming and they have a bit of fun.
And I wonder how that works with the Raptors, because it talks about the Raptors being so egotistical and like always thinking that they're better than everyone else around them. But then, if they're face to face with a space marine, like, I'm gonna bail.
Yeah, again, it's all relative, right? Like, it doesn't mean, just because another space marine shows up, the Night Lord will just run away. The Night Lord has to believe that the space marine that they're going to face off with is as good as or better than them, right? So, and especially if you're egotistical, you're like, if you're just like looking model to model, yes, two space marines should be about the equivalent, capabilities. But there are variations within space marines. So I totally could take this guy. It's probably their thought process. Even in a one-to-one match.
Yeah, like comparing the lore and the story 40K with like tabletop 40K, you can't really do that when you're thinking about this.
Yeah.
To kind of double nerd, another character from another franchise that's super egotistical is Starscream in Transformers, but he's also a massive coward. So maybe the Night Lords are also massive cowards. They don't want the fight because they're afraid of the big fight. And that's why they're big, scary space marines all the time, because deep down, they're scared little children.
They both
That's why they have to inflict fear on others. It's really...
I got everybody talking at once.
I wouldn't... certainly Starscream, I think, is not a bad comparison, but I definitely don't think they are... Again, is it cowardice or is it pragmatism? Is it like even modern military tactics, like you're an idiot if you're looking for a fair fight. You want to have superior firepower and superior everything, right? Like you want to overwhelm your opponent. You're not looking to give them a chance to beat you. That's not even in the equation.
Yeah.
At least not if you're smart.
No, I thought Starscream was peak, and then I saw a chance to slander them, so I went for it.
Oh yeah, definitely. Like this is making fun of them, a lot is fun. But they are definitely, it is a smart thing, like you said. Like it is smart tactically to strike where they're weakest, strike where they're vulnerable, inflict the most casualties on them with taking the least damage yourself.
Yeah.
Even if and I do like that Starscream analogy for a few reasons, actually, Logan. Like, if you put Kurz sort of as Megatron and all of the other Night Lords as Starscream, because, like it says, the other Night Lords are always trying to one up and overthrow each other, and that's exactly what Starscream is always doing to Megatron.
Yeah, exactly.
I like that we all
voice at any point as well. Starscream's voice on everything would sound like one.
I do like that. I'm not gonna lie. I like that we all have the shared language of Transformers, even though we don't really know each other that well. But we all...
Transformers is peak. I mean, I had a Starscream on my desk. I don't know where I put him, but I've got some on my desk right now.
Oh yeah.
Oh, so good.
Transformer podcast when?
Don't have the time.
I would say that's what all of us need. We all need more side projects, don't we?
Transformers Hammer podcast coming soon.
With South Park and Simpsons crossover.
Yeah, with South Park Simpsons crossover.
Pick a lane. All right. Let's get into
Jack says 40K is better than Transformers. You shut the hell up.
Can we ban him? Mods?
Absolutely.
Mods? Don't let him call in. This is the last Night Lords episode. Don't let Jax call in. That's his punishment for this.
It's slightly marginally better than getting flayed alive, so he should be grateful.
Yeah, he should be grateful.
Right. Let's get into the beliefs of the Night Lords. In the malignant storms of the Eye of Terror, innumerable horrors dwell. Nameless demons and void-born beasts, soulless corsairs and aberrant Xenos. But few inspire dread so pure and paralyzing as the shadowed remnants of the Night Lords. Their fallen Astartes, birthed in blood long before the heresy, are not merely warriors. They are the echo of fear made flesh. For millennia, they have stalked the stars, perfecting the art of despair and agony. And as the centuries slipped into nightmare, their malice only deepened, festered, and rotted. The Night Lords do not kill for gods. They do not kill for glory. They kill because it is in their marrow to do so. They kill to watch hope shatter in trembling eyes. They kill slowly, deliberately, drawing out screams until breath fails and silence falls. It is not war they wage, but ritualized butchery, an unholy theater in which fear is both weapon and offering. No honor binds them, no mercy tempers them. They are cruelty unchained, and their laughter is a dirge in the ears of the dying. Cowards call them opportunists. Survivors call them monsters. However, wherever vulnerability festers, on the edge of empire in the forgotten reaches of space, the Night Lords descend. Theirs is a strike unseen, the death that comes in darkness. They cripple systems with terror alone, rendering defenders too broken to stand when the true assault begins. When the blood dries, what remains are messages carved in flesh, warnings written in screams, a legacy of mutilation so that others might learn too late what walks beneath the stars. Though they offer their blades to warbands and raiders, their loyalty is a lie. They sell not their souls, but their services. For plunder, for carnage, for the thrill of choosing who dies next. The Night Lords are mercenaries only until a better target presents itself. Then they turn without hesitation. Trusting them is not merely unwise, it is fatal. No chaos god claims them, no dark throne guides them. They are apostates even among heretics, scorning the very idea of faith. To them, worship is weakness, a fool's crutch. They may march beside plague marines or weave with the sorcery of the thousand suns, but it is not belief that drives them. It is appetite. An appetite for pain, for panic, for the raw, helpless noise of prey who knows death has come and can do nothing but scream. Some Night Lords travel alone, specters from the void with murder in their breath. Whole cities have fallen to a single legionary. Hive spires drowned in blood. industry silenced by fear, generations extinguished like candles in a hurricane. In their wake lies not victory, but the stench of ruin and the silence of graves. No plea moves them, no alliance hold to them. They strike without warning and vanish into shadows, only to turn when wounds have scabbed over and the survivors dare once again to hope. They take no pride in fair combat. The strong are bypassed. The brave are avoided. It is the child, the infirm, the defenseless whom they favor. And when resistance finally rises, the Night Lords have already feasted. The battle is long over. The horror remains. There is no honor among these fallen sons of Nostromo. Their lineage is one of rot and ruin. Their Primarch a prophet of terror who abandoned his own humanity. From the abyss of that murdered world, they emerged as killers without conscience, criminals elevated into demigods of slaughter. The Imperium once sought to tame them, to make them servants of order, but the darkness in them was older than the Emperor's light, and deeper than any oath could reach. Now they serve only the voice within, the whisper that urges them onward, to torment, to maim, to silence and destroy. They do not fight for chaos. Chaos is merely the sea through which they drift, a tide to ride while the screams of the innocent chart their course. To encounter a Night Lord is to witness the end of reason. To stand before one is to see hope evaporate like mist in a rising sun. They are not soldiers, they are not brothers, they are the long night come to claim its due, and in their eyes no stars remain.
So the audio listeners got to miss, but when you read the part where it said the stronger bypassed and the brave avoided, I just went, what? Yeah, that's what I said. They're cowards. Change my mind. Let's go.
I mean, they're certainly not the bravest, especially by like Space Marine standards, but they're not brave, but they are practical.
Yeah. And you could certainly see a chapter like Ultramarines or, Imperial Fists looking down on them as cowards for sure. Like they fight without honor, they retreat,
Oh yeah.
But again, they still are like Space Marines. Like
yeah, no doubt. It's fun to slander them.
Again, like by Space Marine standards, like the Raven Guard probably, are the ones that understand them the best, whereas probably every other loyalist chapter, and I'm sure even some of the traitor legions, see them as cowards and dishonorable.
Yeah, Jax is giving me crap, but when the loyalists do it, it's using tactics, and 100%.
Correct.
When my honorable loyal legion does it, it's fine. When your dirty chaos legion does it, it's despicable.
It's a tactical relocation when you do it. When they
exactly.
When you're tactically flaying people, Jax, I don't think it counts.
Yeah, true. We're not tactical. We're killing a leader. We're not skinning him, mounting him on the city hall, and killing his children to prove a point. I love my Jack says, okay, I love my Night Lords, but they only use the night. The Raven Guard are the night. We were born in the darkness.
Right. That is honestly, that's one of the first things I thought of when I was listening to the Curse episode and through this is just like the Raven Guard, not the Raven Guard, the Night Lords, especially like when they were recruiting from Nostromo, like you are literally born into this kind of terror world.
Yeah, and they are cool. I know it's just fun to bully them, slander. That's what I was saying earlier. It's fun to slander them at every opportunity. They do have a lot of cool one-liners though. Like to encounter a Night Lord is to witness the end of reason. Oh
yeah, to see hope evaporate. Like that is just such a good line.
Yeah, because there's a lot of lines about Chaos Space Marines that it inspires fear or terror, but there's none that's like, oh yeah, you see them and you're gonna go crazy. Like you're cooked. It's the end of it.
I feel like the Night Lords and the Death Guard are probably the ones that have the strongest aesthetic of you're just absolutely hosed when you see them coming.
You got Jax. I got Jax to forsake the Night Lords. It's been a long, difficult campaign. We fought a good fight. like to thank my other opponents, the people that are encouraging Jax to like the Night Lords. But in the end, the truth comes out that Raven Guard is the superior chapter. Thank you and good night.
Mission accomplished. 100 Xbox points.
Gamer score just
Been unlocked. Yeah, right.
Ugh, excuse me. All right, let's talk about. We've been talking a lot about who they are on the inside. So let's get a little vain. Let's talk about what they look like. And Jax just says, I'm getting possessed. Raven Guard are cool. No, Raven Guard are cool. No, get out of my skin. Jax is just trying to butter me up so we unban him and he gets to call in on the last Night Lord episode.
Yeah, that's what it looks like. Either that or it's cocaine. I'm not sure which one.
Get out of my head, Charles. Oh, I love where this is going. All right, vanity time. The Night Lords are marked by death, even in form. Ashen skin stretched over thin, gaunt features, their eyes devoid of life. Okay, another parallel. The Raven Guard are pale with deep black eyes, but they're not ashen with skin stretched over features. So you guys are our twins, but worse. Change my mind. All right. Those who walk beneath the eye of terror since the heresy bear no irises. Their gaze is black on black, bottomless and unfeeling. It's because they have no souls. Their senses, sight, scent, sound, have adapted to thrive in pitch black silence, like beasts born in the void. Long before their souls were forfeit, they were death. They wore death as armor. Every plate was a symbol, every skull a whisper of terror. They understood intimately that fear is more lethal than any blade or bolter. The corrupt gifts of chaos, when they come, are worn with perverse pride, jagged wings, glowing eyes, and snarling death masks twisted from their own warp plate. Even before the galaxy bled, the 8th Legion wore midnight blue etched with lightning, grim shadows among their brighter brethren. Their Mark IV Maximus plate still survives among them, worn by those cursed sons who marched in the days of betrayal, and stained now with the filth of uncountable sins. Human bones are their ornaments. Helmets are sheathed in flensed skulls, greaves reinforced with femurs, and a ribcage spread across the chest like trophies. Bone dust clings to their shoulders like ash, the remains of those who died screaming. The Night Lords believe such remains hold fear itself, etched into the morrow by final terror, radiating dread long after death. Which is kind of interesting because we've talked about the psychic implications and the latent psyker things. That would be interesting because I think inanimate objects can have some psyker ability in them, but that terror being so powerful to kind of imbue a bone with dread after the death.
Yeah, like a little bit of that power of belief.
Yeah.
And even just like how there are some things that are just baked into human psychology, like on a very base level of seeing somebody that is coming towards you, not just in this power armor, but this power armor that is covered in strips of flesh and bones and corpse dust and probably smells like death. That just visceral reaction that it gives to your body is something just that's uncontrollable, I imagine.
Who's stinkier, the fiercest Night Lord or the cleanest Death Guard?
Cleanest Death Guard.
The great clean one appears.
The great clean one. All right. Drifting between stars, they survive as carrion things. Scavenging. What is a carrion thing?
They're like the scavenger birds, like vultures, kind of.
Oh, are they? Oh, that is not a bird. That is a
Did
game.
you just Google carrion?
I did. Latin word. Oh, okay, there it is. I found it. It is the wedge-tailed eagle and okay, I see it now. All right. Sorry, derailed. Drifting between the stars, they survive as carrion things, scavenging the dead, tearing gear from corpses, even their former brothers. Mismatched armor litters their ranks, but all of it is soon repainted in the cursed blue of the Legion, baptized in the suffering of flesh victims. Machine spirits housed within have long since twisted into bitter, screaming reflections. Time has bloated their armor into baroque horrors. It is no longer worn, it grows, reshapes, and warps to mirror the monstrous soul inside. Faces become skulls, wings erupt, horns curl from warped helmets. Often, the silhouette of a Night Lord is the final image burned into a victim's dying eyes. So, like we said before, their armor is chaos given form, etched with lightning that dances like a storm trapped beneath a midnight sky, which is such a beautiful thing for such a terrifying legion. In battle, this strange light coils and flickers across their warp plate. Whether this is sorcery, warp taint, or something deeper, none can say. But in the black of night, the lightning makes them living omens, stalking fear into the bones of all who see. Their sigil is a promise and a curse. A bleached skull, wings of blood-red bat flesh unfurled, all resting atop the star of chaos. It is not a heretical mark. It is a death sentence, writ in iconography, seen too late by those who die screaming. I never realized that the Star of Chaos was on there too.
Yeah, I've never seen it on anything. I don't have it on any of mine.
Okay, I see some artistic renderings of it, but typically the models don't have it. So I guess that's a... Oh, there's another one. That kind of feels like a mix between an older thing that they don't really do anymore because it's hard to put that on a shoulder pauldron.
Yeah, I can see that. I didn't know about the lightning thing either. Since I had seen your pictures of your models in which was the first time I had seen any of that, and I really like that description of it's almost it's like that an actual lightning effect going over their armor.
Like I've done mine in pink lightning as well, so it's a little
That's hot.
a little bit
It
different.
looks really good. Yeah. Anyone listening that's not on the Discord should go, and you can see pictures of these models and lots of other cool models that our guys paint.
Yeah, he just held up Leviathan Siege Dreadnought with the drills, and it's just beautifully painted.
I think it's my favorite part, the old painting the lightning. Like that's when you know it's done, when you get to the lightning painting.
True, I never thought of that before.
It's also why I'll never paint Night Lord's army. Sounds like a nightmare.
I've done it to myself. Like I started with Harlequins, that was hard.
Just the worst armies to paint. Holy smokes.
Yeah. We had just like that added effect of the lightning, like kind of crackling gently over their armor on top of all of the other aesthetic pieces that they have. Like they got some good drip to them. I'll give them that.
It's very Batman Returns, or not? Is that right? No, that's not the one I'm thinking of. What's the
nipple plate?
Batman? Which one?
Batman Beyond? Is that what you're thinking?
No, it's. Am I crazy? Are they? Hang on.
Is it one of the movies?
Yes, it is Batman Returns. Okay, it showed the movie first. The Dark Knight Returns. That's what it is.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah, it's very the Dark Knight Returns-esque.
Mm-hmm.
I think they do like a better job of making scary armor than Lucius has with his little face armor. A cheap mockery of a Night Lord's blade skin.
That would be funny if that's why his armor does that. Other than, it's the souls he's taken, but I think that's funnier. He's doing it to mock you. And Jax specifically.
Okay, should we get into the war gear? The war gear of the Night Lords is a grim reflection of their philosophy. Fear is a weapon, and death is an art. Their power armor, often a mix of scavenged plates and Hersey era relics, is adorned with bones, spikes, and grotesque symbols. Some etched by hand, others grown or fused by the dark whims of the warp. Skull-faced helms leer from shadowed recesses, and many suits bear the remains of their victims as grisly trophies, rib cages lashed across chest plates, femurs welded into greaves, or ossified skulls used as pauldrons. These weapons are simultaneously nightmarish, modified for maximum suffering, and psychological devastation. Serrated chainswords, gore-slicked lightning claws, and bolt pistols that howl as they fire. Some Night Lords employ archaic war gear such as Mark IV Marquess armor, while others wield demonically touched relics that whisper in the dark. Their armor crackles as with unnatural lightning, an airy, ceaseless display of blue energy that dances across their battle plate, illuminating them like the remnants of the dark. It is not simply a uniform, it is a harbinger of doom, a manifestation of terror that they create to inflict. Lightning claws and chain weapons. They also have those chain glaives, those polearm chain weapons. I have some, but they're not here. Yeah, they're really cool. A lot of the.
Did you say you don't have any?
Oh no, I do. I do have
Lord's army. Oh, okay, just not on hand. I was about to mock you relentlessly for not having them in your army.
I can try dig one out.
But definitely seems like they enjoy the up close and personal weapons the most, which absolutely tracks.
I think that's my favorite part. Like if you're gonna play Night Lords, you play up close.
And if you don't, you're doing it wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever seen a shooty Night Lord's army.
Like it talks about like the bolt pistol that howls, and of course my mind goes to that should be a Space Wolves things where it's just like ow every time you shoot the bolt pistol.
I don't know. Pistols are kind of furry, so I think their pistols are going ew ew every time they shoot them.
It's awful. I hate it.
The Night Lord bolt pistols are just like ah every time you shoot a bullet.
That would be really funny.
Because voice boxes work through like air and so on passing through, right? Maybe they just rip voice boxes out of people and just shove them on the barrel.
Literally stick them like a silencer. They just screw it on the.
I was like, I could see the Night Lords having like somehow making their bolt pistols able to feel pain every time they shoot it.
Terrible.
I mean, like as we're making fun of them, they are like it is more in line with the original kind of like dark humor, satirical, just excess of like original 40K. There are people that I've talked to about it that think that really the orcs are kind of the only humorous parts of 40K left, but like getting into it, it's just a lot in in a cartoonishly villainous way. It is fun.
Yeah, they're quite over the top. Mustache twirling villainy. I was just gonna comment real quick on their lightning claws. Very much leans into the horror aesthetic too, with like typically chaos lightning claws. The claws aren't like the Wolverine ones where they come out of the fist, more so the fingers are the claws.
Mm-hmm.
Here we go.
There you go. Yeah.
So more like Freddy Krueger versus Wolverine.
Yeah. Kind of.
Yeah.
See, the Raven Guard used the pure and appropriate lightning claws on their arms, not these vile finger claws.
Yeah, out of their knuckles. Yeah, I feel like with the release of some of the newer Horse Heresy kits, the finger claws are supposed to be like an older style of lightning claw. It's a lot more prominent in like the Horse Heresy, even amongst loyalist legions. But it's come to like demarcate in 40K, chaos typically having the lightning claws and loyalists having like the knuckle lightning claws.
If the loyalists get the claws, because they're taking them away on everything.
Well, yeah, that's true too. I love the new Raven Guard commander. What's his name?
Shrike.
Yeah, Shrike, and the Black Templars also have a really cool set of lightning claws.
Yeah, I had Shrike right here, but he fell off of my thing and it broke one of his little claws that's on his foot, so I put him off to the side to fix him later.
Poor buddy.
He'll be fine.
It's a little bird you gotta nurse back to health.
Exactly. Exactly. He was a captain, turned into a chapter master. Didn't want it, but he took it anyway. He's based and red pilled. Unlike
Base and bridge.
Cruz.
Love this guy going off on Raven Guard on a Night Lords episode.
Dude, I am the number. What Night Lords is to Jax, what Raven Guard is to me. So I came here to slander, and I intend to do it at every opportunity.
Yeah, we need to have Jax on during the Raven Guard episode so we can just shit on the Raven
That would
Guard.
be really funny.
Yeah, that's what we're gonna do. Yeah, that'd be hilarious. Let Mark know.
I wouldn't be mad. It's fair. All's fair in love and Warhammer,
Except for Night Lords.
except for Night Lords.
Yeah, they don't like to fight fair. But yeah, that kind of brings us to the end of all our speaking notes. I did have a little tangent I did want to address real quick, if you guys will indulge me.
Of course.
Yeah, let's do this.
I do like the Night Lords. Don't get me wrong. However, I do feel like the vampire / suffer and pain inflicting kind of faction is very repeated. I was gonna say overdone, but that might not be the word I want. But it's repeated quite heavily in 40k. Night Lords, obviously, a lot of echoes of Dark Eldar, the vampiric themes, the inflicting pain for pain's sake, the fear factor, then the vampire themes. Blood Angels can get wrapped up in that, and then also literally having vampires in 40k too. I don't know. Is it too much? Are they too close? Is that
They're kind of, I don't know if this is the right, kind of androgynous for what their identity is, because they clearly have an identity, but their identity is bits and pieces of other things. Like they're not a clearly defined, this is what they're special at. It's just, they look like vampires and they kill people. The Drukhari kill people. The Blood Angels look like vampires. The Raven Guard are stealthy. There's just lots of little bits that they have of other things. The flip side, they're kind of more violent than the other ones in that respect, because the way they talk about how creepy they are and what's in their head, it makes me feel like kind of like we read earlier, how they have like a voice in their head kind of pushing it. It kind of reminds me of like Dexter, how he has his dark passenger that's pushing him to kill all the time. That's kind of like they're a serial killer with all these other attributes is more how I look at them, as opposed to just a vampire or something.
okay? Yeah, I could, especially with all the criminality elements in their backstories in prison, and yeah, I guess if you think of them, more as like a serial killer rather than a vampire, that might be.
Yeah, I
Okay.
think they don't drink the blood like the Night Lords, or not like the Blood Angels. They just make the blood.
Yeah.
Just
Honestly,
pour the blood out on everything. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a great way to like delineate it. Like, because they're, like you said, their aesthetic is, kind of is with that like gothic vampire knight, winged helmets aesthetic. But yeah, the way they operate is like an organization of serial killers. Absolutely.
I guess they're probably closer to Dark Eldar than they are to Blood Angels or vampires.
Yeah, I was thinking like, are there
Yeah,
any
I was just
sorry.
I was just grouping them all together, like all the vampiric themes and elements, but certainly like the one that they most closely relate to are the Dark Eldar. They still share that vampiric trait, but also, like I said, this absolute psychotic, vindictive, sadistic kind of temperaments is certainly present in the Dark Eldar as well.
Yeah, I was wondering if there's any stories of a Night Lord either like being taken to Komorra or like getting to Komorra or anything like that. Like, because I don't know if they enjoy the killing, but I don't know if they enjoy it in the same way that the Drukhari take pleasure in that kind of violence.
I think, I'd say they probably don't take pleasure. It's more like they need to kill rather than they want to do it to that extent. I guess it could be like a nice little holiday for them to Komorra. It's probably they save up their Imperial credits.
They didn't have a bad time while they were there. Let's just say.
Yeah.
Right. Like I wonder if they would get to Komorra and just be like, well, this place is nice.
Yeah.
This place gets me.
Certainly, considering the Night Lord's pragmatism and the shared influences, let's say, there
Yeah.
could theoretically, like, you could make a cool warband of Night Lords who, do operate out of Komara as mercenaries or something. I think there's room. There's room for something like that.
Yeah, because the notes do say that they have been known to work for Xenos warlords, so that you
Yeah.
could do, like one of the higher ranking Drukhari that got a couple Night Lords, or like a small Night Lords warband to work with them, to go. They're gonna go steal people, take them back to Komora. Well, Night Lords, you fight with us. That these people are your part of the plunders. Take them back with you for recruits to be more Night Lords or something like that.
Yeah, it's a win-win. A match made in hell.
So, while we're talking, one thing that just popped into my head. I wonder if when GW was making the legions, they gave all these vampiric traits to the Night Lords and then started making the Blood Angels and then went, oh, let's put the Fangs over here. Oh, let's put this over here. But by the time they did it, they're like, well, it's too late to switch homeworlds and stuff, so we'll just keep it this way.
Yeah, I don't know which one would have come first. I do know from speaking with Rick Priestley that he did want to drive home the fact that all Space Marines are kind of monsters to a degree. Just by virtue of their existence and the nature of how they're created. Which definitely, be that vampires, be that werewolves, be that whatever monstrous theme you want to inject into them. It all kind of relates back to just the idea that they are beyond human, but in that monstrous, grotesque kind of way.
Yeah.
But anyways, that was my two thoughts. That always kind of put me off of Night Lords, just kind of that mixed bag, identity, kind of like what you were saying, is to me sometimes they feel too much like others. But I think I see some synergies that could be really cool too. Like a Dark Eldar Night Lords warband would be very cool.
I probably should try that. I've never really dove into Dark Eldar too much.
It's starting another army.
Yeah, there we go.
That's how they get you.
How I do it now is I get a friend to play an army I would like to see but don't want to build myself. So then I get to see it.
The demon on their shoulder just telling them yeah, go buy that. Oh, you need one of these.
Well,
yeah.
We talked before about getting a friend hooked by getting him a combat patrol. And I had a friend that I was going to give my Death Guard to, but I was talking to him and he goes, yeah, I just want to play a glass hammer army. That's really my play style. And I'm like, you're going to play Drukhari and you're going to be happy.
Yeah.
And he looked at the range and he's like, oh, this is perfect. I'm like, oh, yes. Just
and
like that.
The GW guy comes out and hands you your commission.
Yeah. I wish I got paid to addict people to things. I spend other people's money really well.
All right. Do we want to bring someone for a call on?
Yeah, there's someone here. I'll add.
Did someone say vampires?
For audio listeners, Dracula is now looking at us on camera. Oh, look, it's Court.
Oh my goodness.
Looking sick. Love it.
I got done with my workout and Logan's texting me as he's doing the show. He's just saying, I miss you. Why aren't you here? What's going on? Everybody's crying. I don't know what's
Why turned
happening.
down my marriage proposal.
Yeah.
I'm just imagining Logan at night just being like, can I quit you staring at a picture of Court?
No, I just wanted to pop in and say hello. Night Lords are fucking rad. If I was going to do a Chaos Army, that would be Night Lords for sure. I haven't heard anything that you guys have said tonight because I was at the gym. Anti-nerding for the moment, but that'll all start again tomorrow with the full-on nerding. So,
hey, I know a lot of swole nerds. There's nothing wrong with being a jack nerd.
Yeah.
We have a whole channel for that in the Discord.
Okay,
Yeah,
weirdly, and maybe this is too far nerding, I don't know, but when I was getting to the point of fuck, I don't think I can do 2 more reps. I'm just the fucking Imperium calls you to do 2 more reps. Do you want to fucking train like a Space Marine? You need to do those 2 reps. Come on, get it. And I was like, okay, for the Emperor.
You want to disappoint your Primarch?
Yeah, right. I'm like, no, I got this. So, yeah. Anyways, that's it. I love you guys. I hope everything has gone well, and I miss y'all. So yeah,
Really good
that's it. Hydra Thoughts. Everybody watch Hydra Thoughts. It's fucking
Mhm.
amazing. There it is.
Thanks for the plug,
Okay.
buddy.
Also,
It
I
is-
shouted out the show to a guy at Bookman's this week because he had a Cornflakes t-shirt on. And I was like, oh, cool. Do you play 40K? And he was like, no, I just can't afford it, but I really love the lore. Like, I'm really into the lore. I was like, you don't say. Boy.
I know a guy.
I know.
I know a few guys that you need to listen to. So, anyways, yes. Love you guys. Long time. And auf Wiedersehen.
Have a good
See
rest.
you.
Thanks, Court.
Yeah.
Do we add Jax or do we just leave him?
Let's bring on Jax. I think we should bring
Yeah,
on
we
Jax.
got to. Even though I said ban him, let's bring him on. Let him say hi, and then kick him off.
Okay.
Okay, kick him. He said okay, kick him.
Hey, Lord Service.
Wait, do I kick him now?
Famous last
I've never
words.
done this.
So Jax, obviously you love the Night Lords. If you had to pick your favorite thing about the Night Lords, like your number one thing that is why people should love the Night Lords, what would it be?
We just have so much skin in the game. I might say.
Fuck, that was good. I'll give you that.
No, but to be truthful, I gotta say, like, the characters of the Night Lords are just the best, especially like Talos, Sevatar, Kurz. All of them are just such good characters in 40K. And yeah, we also got skin.
No,
Skin and
that's a good point though. Because I think in terms of a lot of like tabletop RPGs, and I was talking with some friends about this a little bit yesterday. We were watching a show called The Expanse. It's a sci-fi show, really good. But like, kind of the difference in stories between who are well-written characters and who are like relatable, like characters that you could play. Like, there's a difference there, and I think like Kurz and a lot of the Night Lords are well-written, good characters to have like in your story setting. I agree with you that there are some good characters there.
Yeah,
They're just psychopaths.
I'm not the
Yeah.
biggest Night. I'm not the biggest Night Lords fan, but definitely Sevatar is actually one of my favorite Space Marine characters. Regardless, like, he's just such a cool character. I can't not like him.
I currently have 2 shorts under the YouTube video for this one that's on the live stream right now. Go by Patreon, go watch the YouTube live. It's great. But it's one about a Blood Angel from the Siege of Terra and one about a Night Lord. The Night Lord has almost 500,000 views, and the Blood Angel is just barely over 100,000 views. So people love their Night Lords, I gotta say.
Definitely.
They do good on the old gram as well if you post painted Night Lords.
I can
Yeah,
see that, yeah.
Earth
Especially like you
Fest.
said, like you're showing with that lightning effect, I can see that really drawing people in.
Yeah, I gotta say, Ursats, your Night Lord army is probably the best I've seen. I suck at painting, so
Ah, thank you. I need to get back in them. I haven't had time.
yeah, paint more Night Lords. The night calls, you gotta do it.
Night calls.
So going through one last thing for you, Jax, to sort of shit on the Night Lords, do you think that they are not just like the worst, but also the least relatable of all the Space Marine legions?
Okay, so hear me out here, but they are actually pretty relatable in a sense. So it's not like, oh, something I actually do, but we see the Ultramarines like courage and honor, like plot armor, like we're the best people, we're so cool and all that. Whereas the Night Lords are, yeah, we just skin people, and it's nobody's ever going to do it unless they're a psychopath. But they're basically the personification of intrusive thoughts. Like, what if I just like unshackled myself of everything and just went ham on everybody? Of course, I get like 5 feet before getting shot up by someone because I'm not a super soldier from 40k.
Right before just getting absolutely bodied by somebody.
Yeah, well, you're not
Oh,
a
yeah.
super soldier yet. You have
That's
to go
true,
through
yeah,
the whole
exactly.
process.
You're on your way.
You have to get
But I was-
kidnapped and everything.
yeah, because I was talking to Mark a little bit about like with going through all these different legions and chapters, finding things to like and enjoy. And I think with, at least for me, all of the other ones I could find something to relate to, and I really wasn't able to with like Curs and Night Lords. I don't know if you sold me, but I do think I think you made a really good point with that idea of like, this is the legion of where you let your intrusive thoughts win. I think that's definitely something to consider that I had not.
And for me, just let it all out, baby.
Lorehammer Legal cannot condone letting it all out or letting your intrusive thoughts win.
Never do that.
Yeah, they're just
Cool, man.
they're the Night Lords. They're the best. Perfection.
Awesome. And thankfully, now we're done with them.
Praise
very
be the
much.
Emperor. I love that you kicked him before he got to say goodbye.
Didn't even say goodbye.
Perfect timing. Well, all right. That was the episode, everyone. Thank you for joining us. Thanks everyone for being on for being hosts. If you are looking to buy some Night Lords, buy some Raptors, buy any sorts of miniatures, definitely check out Merlin's miniatures. They've got new and box stuff. They've got used miniatures, painted miniatures. And you can use the promo code Lorehammer to get a nice little discount.
What's that promo code again?
The promo code is Lorehammer, LOREHAMMER.
Okay, wanted to make sure I had it right for later.
Write that down. Write that down.
Write that down.
So I know some of us can't spell. That's why I wanted to make it very clear.
Some of us can't spell, some of us can't read. Some of the names in this episode, I'm like,
Oh my god. Yeah. So like some of the paragraphs was like half the words are just made up gobbledygook.
Yeah, this isn't words. But yeah, another shout out, my YouTube channel, Hydra Thoughts. If you're ever interested in cryptids, conspiracies, or mysteries, come check me out. We're having a good time.
And the Facebook post, Instagram post is a Lorehammer page for both of those. Right now we're going over the Lorehammer Legion right now, through the history, through what they have, all the Liber Malleus stuff is all out there. Yeah, so take a look at that.
And if you like Star Wars content, come check out me and Jordan on the Star Wars podcast, where we go over the lore of the Star Wars universe.
All right, everyone. Last thing I believe is we've got some wonderful new Patreon patrons helping the Lorehammer grow with their Imperial tithe. We've got Lewis, Censored, Oliver, Mike, Chad, Dale, Rick, Matthew, Trace, David, and there might be some other ones that were missed just in being too close to the show. But everyone that has donated, even just that $250, whatever you can, one-time donation, thank you very much. It is because of you all that makes this possible. And if you're looking for other fun ways to donate, like I said earlier, there is the Liber Malleus project going on, where you can buy into the Liber Malleus chapter, get a special custom Terminator, Chaos, or Loyalist Terminator named after you, with your own unique lore that you can write to be part of Lorehammer history. And with that, I think everyone have a good night.
Later.
See you.